Live at Lunch is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM in the Ginger and Baker Studio in Fort Collins, Colorado, and supported by the Music District, a music-centric gathering place to cultivate talents, support professional development, and encourage connections. Welcome to Live at Lunch. This is David Vacek. I'm your host today for Live at Lunch, and I am excited today that we have a special guest. His name is Jack Broadbent from the United Kingdom. Hi, Jack.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for stopping in on your busy tour here. And you started out, you're touring with Sunvolt currently for a few shows?
I am, yeah.
All right. Well, we're very blessed today to have you bring both your beautiful 1965 Hofners with you and share a little bit about what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to play a couple of songs from my new album.
Ride?
New album, Ride, and I'm going to start with a tune called Grace.
Wonderful.
Could leave my life, walk out the door, there's something more I can see 4 miles, more than I thought I was looking for. So now we're gonna live by the water, and I will be just fine, walking the borderline, and I can see no dice lying in the street every day and night. So now we're gonna live by the water, now we're gonna live by the water. I will be just fine, all for the rest of my life, and I can speak my mind round and around till I wanna find out. Now we're gonna live by the water. Grace, grace, grace. Now we're gonna live by the water. Grace, 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 grace by the water.
Well, Jack, so you've been touring for about 7 years now, you said, internationally?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. But you started playing when you were around 15?
Quite a bit younger than that, actually. Because my father's a musician, there was always instruments in the house. So.
And your father was a bass player?
Yeah.
In which band?
Continues to be a bass player. And he was in Bram Tchaikovsky back in the 70s, and now he plays with me.
Isn't that wonderful? You have an expert, road-worn and ready to go person that you're familiar with playing right with you.
Yeah, and it's just great to share it, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so, when you were younger, as I understand, he took you with him to open mics and jams and things like that, and that's what initially got you interested in music.
Yeah, and prior to that, you know, I would just go to shows, you know, with my mum and, you know, to watch my dad play. So I had so much exposure to all these adults having like loads of fun and always laughing and hanging around in these, you know, cool little back rooms and stuff. So I was already well versed in all that, you know, before I started playing. I knew it was a good.
What are your earliest memories of seeing live acts there in the UK?
Well, I mean, everything from festivals to like little blues clubs and stuff like that. But I remember a lot of blues music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of rhythm and blues bands sort of on the circuit, and I'd say that's probably a big part of what makes me love that music. It's sort of really was part of my childhood. Yeah.
I also read in some of your bio that, of course, you're a big slide player, and we'll get a great taste of that in a little bit here. But you'd mentioned John Lee Hooker and Little Feat of all acts. Is that kind of some of your early influences, would you say?
Yeah, well, my dad's favorite band's always been Little Feat.
Really?
And so I've always listened to a lot of that growing up, and then Lowell George played great slide guitar. Not that I was really like paying much attention to that in particular, but it must have had an influence, you know. And then fortunately, in the last year, I've been out touring with Little Feat. I did a US tour and also did a spell in Jamaica with them too.
That must have been a lot of fun, on top of good education, picking up on some of your best your influences growing up.
Yeah.
So you started out as a drummer, right?
Yeah.
For a brief period of time.
Well, still a drummer, but I think until you have any melodic knowledge, if you've got rhythm, then you're gonna find some way of playing. So I always, until I started playing guitar, which was really, I like to play rhythm guitar because it's percussive, and the only reason I sort of gravitated towards it was because I developed an interest in songwriting. So there's not many drummers writing songs on drums.
Right, very, very few. Yeah. Well, I get the rhythmic percussiveness of your playing, which I can see the John Lee Hooker influences a little bit, because he had that, he was like he was his own drummer and keeping time and playing by himself too. Yeah. So you're on a solo tour now by yourself. You don't have your father Mick playing bass with you.
No, not for this tour. Yeah.
What is the best place for people to find information on, the most up-to-date information for you as far as touring, where to find your music, things like that?
My website is a great place to start, www.jackbroadbent.co.uk. But also any social media platforms, I'm all over them, Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, that's where I go to look up when my tour dates are.
When you're trying to see where you're playing next.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, speaking of playing, I'd love to hear another tune.
All right.
Another one from Ride?
Yes, there's a piece called Midnight Radio.
Wonderful.
I took a walk in the morning light. I didn't know what I'd find. I said, please give me a starry night. I said, please give me a starry sky. And oh, here I go, listening to that midnight radio. Here I go, stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat of your heart. I took a walk, I don't know why. I took a walk in the early morning light. Oh yeah, I said please give me a starry night. Please give me a starry sky. And oh, here I go, listening to that midnight radio. Here I go, stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat of your heart. And oh, here I go, listening to that midnight radio. here I go, stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat, yeah. Oh, I'm stepping to the beat, yeah.
Midnight Radio off the new album Ride by Jack Broadbent. Speaking of albums, you've got 6 that I know of. Am I off?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Some EPs and things going on.
Going way back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm super familiar with Ride and Moonshine Blue, but some of these others, some of the early EPs, were they put out by you yourself, or?
Yeah. Well, I've always sort of recorded on the move or on the fly, if you like, and so some of the earlier ones were recorded whilst I was traveling and whilst I was out, on my adventures. I used to take a little handheld recording device, and it had a 4-track function on it, so I was able to do multi-track recordings. And so the first few records, Trail of Tears and Portrait, were all done using that.
I became familiar with you originally, like probably millions of people, on YouTube when you were busking on the streets in Amsterdam. And I think the specific song I remember was you doing On the Road Again. Mm-hmm. And
Can't Heat. Yeah,
exactly. And what brought that up? Well, why Amsterdam? Who was filming you? Was that an on-purpose thing, or you just happened to be there?
I was on a little trip, and I was going to go to Berlin. I eventually made it to Berlin, but I got waylaid in Amsterdam for a variety of reasons. And I was fortunate when I was busking. A guy came along and filmed that little segment. I'd never met him before. I met him afterwards. I didn't think much of it, and then it started to snowball and got quite a lot of views. And I'm still in touch with the guy that filmed it. When I play in Amsterdam, he comes down to the shows. And
how wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice.
You played Montrose Jazz Festival not that long ago, 2016?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, that was kind of from the snowballing of things starting to ramp up because of some of these videos from the busking, really. Mm-hmm. So I did that festival, and within that year I was touring with Lynyrd Skynyrd in America. So it's quite a quick transition from street to amphitheater.
Was that kind of a bit of a culture shock for you?
I loved it.
Yeah?
It's like a prize fighter, like let me at him.
All right, it's my turn. Yeah. How'd that tour go with Skynyrd? I mean,
it was wonderful, and it gave me my first lap around the States, and gave me a really nice base, of people that suddenly knew who I was. So when I started putting up posters in some of these towns a year later on my own tours, I'd already made some friends.
So growing up in Lincolnshire, UK, you're not based there now, right? You're in Canada, at least for now?
Yeah, and I'm loosely based out of that suitcase over there.
A big red suitcase.
Yeah. But yeah, Canada has become a sort of second home for me for quite a number of years now.
You recorded Ride, your new album there. Mm-hmm. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I was there during the lockdowns, so had to do something productive, and so me and a friend of mine started recording some of the ideas we'd had, been messing around with, and it evolved into Ride, really. The drummer Mark Gibson is a great player, very much plays for the song, so we put together some recordings, and then I sent them across the pond to my father, and he put the bass lines down, sent them back, and so it became an intercontinental record,
Stylistically, it's a lot different than Moonshine Blue, I think. I mean, there's maybe one tune that I could say might have been appropriate for Moonshine Blue, and I think that's something that you try to accomplish yourself. You try not to pigeonhole yourself into just one style or one genre, which I think makes your music extremely interesting. You know, you could pick up any one of your albums and hear totally different styles.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I think if you're not doing that, then you're not really exploring yourself or expressing, you know, much of a multifaceted idea of yourself. You know, I mean, I like to play acoustic music and soft folk music as much, if not more so, than playing electric guitar, because, you know, it allows you to use other parts of your, you know, personality, other parts of your feelings. It would be the worst thing in the world for someone to say, "What kind of music do you play?" and you just said rock and roll, you know,
or blues,
yeah,
whatever.
So yeah, I try and keep it interesting. You know?
Yeah, and you do.
Yeah,
well, I would say it probably helps you grow as an artist and keeps things going.
Helps you grow as a human being too.
Yeah, and recording this, you'd mentioned you know, the COVID-19 lockdown and all that in 2020. You usually write your songs when you're on the road, because you're on the road so much. Yeah. So did you take songs that you'd written from being on the road, or did you kind of change things up a little bit for Ride?
It was kind of an exercise in, like revisiting some of those ideas that the fleeting ideas that you just before a sound check or
like
something.
Like a lick or something.
It would be something as simple as that. Mm-hmm. And I often don't get a chance to sit down and revisit those, but I had, you know, so many on my little dictaphone, you know, so many recordings of good ideas that sort of nipped in and out of my head, and it was really an exercise in letting them pass through again and seeing if any of them stuck, because I don't like to labour a song. I wouldn't sort of take a piece and go like, right, well, I'll try and take this one to the finish line. It was more, you know, just seeing which ones actually came to a natural fruition. And that's why I kept it to these 8 songs, because I felt like in those 8 songs was everything I was trying to say. Mm-hmm.
What are you going to play next?
I'm going to play a song called Hard Living.
Bright and early, I've been waiting for the news. When I get it, I'll know exactly what to do. Come on, tell me what you choose. I'll remain here and leave it all to you. It's hard living. It's hard living. Gone one morning, you said that it was time. A fine woman wants to leave it all behind. I just wanted to believe that you were mine. You said you loved me, but that was just a line. Back to hard living. It's hard living. It's hard living. Hard living. Well, there's nothing you can say. I feel a silence, I hear it every day. Something calling out to me. My tired empire, it's empty and it's free, and it's hard living. It's hard living. It's hard living. Hard
Hard Living off of Jack Broadbent's brand new album, Ride. That was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And more beautiful even than on the album. That's when you see it in person. What a sound.
Thank you.
And speaking of sound, we're going to get back a little bit into those wonderful 1965 Hofner guitars that you seem to be able to find or people lay in your lap for you.
Yeah, so.
You have a wonderful story about that one. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, this one I acquired on my travels in Australia. And I was staying with a friend who had a lot of people coming through where he was living, and he had this guitar. And when I stayed there, I said, where did that come from? And he had some crazy elaborate story as to how he'd acquired it. And I asked if I could give it some TLC while I was staying there. And he said yes, so I did, and I fixed her up, put some nice new strings on it and everything. And then just as I was leaving, before I left, he said, make sure you don't leave without that Hofner. So that was nice. And
now you're indebted.
Yeah, that's it. That's it forever now. But yeah, no, it was very nice, very generous, and it's nice when a guitar, when you sort of just comes your way and finds you, instead of going out and trying to buy one,
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Very sentimental, and of course, it has a real beautiful, unique tone to it that really. It's more of a mid-range, deep sound rather than the tinnier, high-end sound that you get with a lot of the newer acoustics.
That's right, and also I really, really don't change my strings very often. I like them to mellow down and mellow down easy.
Do you use flat wounds or?
No, just standard acoustic guitar strings. But yeah, I don't like changing them very much.
Do you use standard tunings or?
Those pieces that I just played were in standard tunings. I also use a lot of drop tunings, particularly when I'm playing slide guitar. I use open tunings.
Open G?
I choose open D because it seems to sit nice with where my voice likes to sit. And then I've got some kind of hybrid tunings that I've come up with over the years that I try and...
keep to yourself so nobody copies them?
Well, let them try. But yeah, that makes for an interesting gig, because you have to keep retuning a lot, especially if you only take a couple of guitars out. But I think it's part of the show, people can see that it's a real effort,
You'd mentioned your mom used to take you to your dad's shows when you were younger. Were your mom and your dad, I know your dad was musical, obviously. Was your mother also musical?
She comes from a musical background, probably more in a theatre environment than in a stage environment than bands and stuff. My grandfather loved being on stage and stuff. So it's run right through the family.
Through the family.
Yeah.
They were your first probably inspiration or role models as far as getting into music, would you say? Mm-hmm. Oh, great.
Yeah. It's hard to go wrong when you're surrounded by guitars and musical people.
Did anybody in your father's bands or whatever give you a pat on the back and lead you into music at all?
Well, I think I used to play with some of my dad's friends and him, in little bands around our county. I played drums in his blues bands and stuff like that. So, I was pretty much involved in it by the time I was 15. I was playing with older musicians, and as my dad rightfully said or says, if the best way to get better is to play with people that are better than you, or certainly more experienced,
Sure.
And they were all both, So for me, it gave me a lot of discipline, and when you're used to playing with professional, mature musicians. It's a little different than if I'd have been 14 just thrashing around in garages with a load of kids at my age who didn't really know what they were doing,
You probably wouldn't have gotten where you are today.
Well, maybe not. Or I'd be in some, insufferable punk band.
As far as memorable places...
Not that I don't like, that I dislike insufferable punk
you grew
bands.
up around, punk and alternative.
There's nothing wrong with an insufferable band.
Was the Montreux Jazz Festival, was that probably one of the most interesting places you played, or have there been a bunch?
I played in Japan now. I played in...
How was the response to your music there?
amazing. You know, that's kind of what I've sort of figured out is really, if you're playing roots music, it translates. You know, it doesn't. It's not about language. It's about feel. You know, so it works everywhere.
Excellent.
Just got to try and find some other life forms, get on another planet, see if it works there.
So other than Japan, was there any place else that was?
Well, I mean, without seeming like I'm, saying it deliberately, I love playing in America. You know,
Well, we got a lot of places for you to play.
well, exactly. There's plenty of room for someone like me. But I mean, like just this tour, for example. I mean, I started in Phoenix, Arizona, went over to LA. I've driven the whole way and came all the way up the West Coast, and found myself all the way up here now. And along the way, there's so many beautiful, obviously, places to play,
Especially
but the scenery is just unbelievable. So the combined aspects of the travel and the obviously the musical outlet, you know, this is where creativity comes from, I think.
So you don't mind traveling by yourself all over?
Well, I'm never by myself for very long. I kind of make friends quite quickly.
There you go.
I'm not shy to go in the pub wherever I am. You know,
not cause trouble. Just hang out.
I've been in some rowdy pubs in America.
That's for sure, especially in the West, in LA, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So I don't want to pry because I know Ride's. You're very proud of Ride. And are you working on new music?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, constantly.
Always. Yeah. Well, the original concept for Ride was because I had so much material because I'd just come off the road and I had a lot of free time on my hands, was that I was going to put together two small albums that we sort of put together because I had some acoustic material as well as the rock and roll material. And in the end, it didn't work out that way, and I just put out the rock and roll record. But I've got this acoustic. I've got a number of acoustic pieces, ready and waiting, and obviously I'm writing more all the time. So we'll see how that materializes.
All right, Jack. Got a question for you here. You have a very unique slide guitar mode of playing. And I've interviewed literally hundreds of musicians and never seen a whiskey flask used as the slide tool. And speaking to you before the show, you kind of explained it does make a lot of sense. It's ergonomic to your hand and easier because of the angle you playing in your lap. That it's not making your angle your wrist at a weird angle. Sure. And why don't you tell us a little bit about how it happened originally?
Yeah, well, like you say, it's got its attributes in terms of its shape. In terms of the actual surface area that it's hitting, it's pretty much exactly the same as a tone bar, or the same sort of dimensions as people use lighters, people use bottles, and all kinds of things. But there's just something about this shape; it just fits perfectly in my hand, and I always had one around, so kind of fell into my lap, if you know what I mean.
So was it an accident when you originally said, "Oh, I can't find a slide anywhere"? I
used to busk a lot outside, playing on the streets, and I remember when it came about because I was staying in London, and it was in the middle of the winter. It was freezing cold. I was staying at this really nice pub in South London with a friend of mine. And he was running the bar there, and he went downstairs into the cellar one day, and he came back up and he went, "Oh, I found all these hip flasks," and I said, "Oh, I want that one." And it was just it was the nicest one. I said, "Oh, can I have this one?" And we were sat around playing a little later, and at the time I had a metal lighter that was pretty much the same dimensions as this, and they were just both sat next to each other on the table when we were sort of playing. And I went to pick up the lighter like I always did, and I just picked up the flask instead and went like, "Oh, this is nice." And, instead of a sort of pinching action where it kind of it's all in your fingers like this allows you to really open up your wrist a lot more. So rather than sort of trying to do it with more...
Or having to put your hand flat or underneath the neck.
Well, and this was the thing when I first started playing slide guitar. Somebody explained just a few basics to me. And I tried it with a bottleneck on like this, and I felt like I was always sort of like peering around the corner, trying to do it. I sat it down for a second just to say like, okay, so it's here, 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 and here. And as I started to play, my friend who was showing me said like, you play great lap style, you know.
And you didn't even know
keep doing it like that, you know. So I've carried on playing like this. It's lovely. It's sort of laid out like a piano, you know, and you can really see what you're doing. And it feels like you're playing more percussively. You know?
It seems like you said, you don't have to pay as much attention to exactly where you are on the neck and everything. And then you play in an open tuning, you said, for that.
Yeah. I've used a couple of different ones, but really it's pretty standard stuff, just playing in open major tunings or open minor tunings. And then, you know, the nicest thing about slide playing, I always think, is it's very simple. It's very simple mathematics in the sense of, you know, you're hitting full chords. It's what you then do around that makes it interesting. You know, it's like the blues. It's 3 chords, but it's what you do with it. It's what intention you lay on those simple structures.
You said that you love playing rhythm. You consider yourself a rhythm guitarist, but obviously, with that slide, you sound like a frustrated lead guitarist, maybe.
Well, it certainly is my voice in terms of a lead player. I can't do the things that I can do with this, you know, with my fingers, and I think that's the whole point. I don't think you can, you know. There's certain perks to this type of thing. For example, my slide, because I've been using this for so long, it's all got really lacerated down the edge here. So all I have to do is really touch the strings, and it's almost like a violin bow, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously if you use the side that isn't scratched up,
totally different.
You don't get it.
Sound,
So there's certain things that come that have sort of developed out of playing with a slightly different style that's meant that it's sort of I've found my own sound really through that too.
So somebody can't just pick this up and copy your sound now. Obviously, they're going to have to play for quite a while to reach.
So you got to do your 10,000 hours. Is that what it says? 10,000 hours.
My goodness.
Well, I did that on the street busking, definitely. You know.
All right. Well, you're going to play a tune from one of your earlier albums.
Yeah.
And what's the tune?
So a song called "Don't Be Lonesome."
Don't Be Lonesome, and you wrote it on the road. Were you lonesome on the road when you wrote it?
Very much, yeah. I was writing these pieces and recording them in the back of my Volvo at the time, and that became the album along with Trail of Tears. But yeah, this was just another piece from Lonesome Traveling, busking.
All right. Jack Broadbent here on KRFC's Live at Lunch, and if you would like to tune in to our Live at Lunch, we have our own YouTube channel, KRFC RadioVision, and you'll be able to view, obviously, Jack Broadbent and all the other great musicians that we have here on Live at Lunch.
All right, this is Don't Be Lonesome.
I don't think that you're the lonesome type. I don't think that you're the lonesome type, no. I don't think that you want a love like mine. I do my best, but I'm wasted all the time. Don't be lonesome, don't be alone with me. Don't be lonesome, don't be alone with me. You know I want you'll be mine someday. Don't be lonesome, please just call my name. Don't be lonesome, please just call my name. won't. You'll be mine someday. Along the way, don't be lonesome, getting lost along the way. You know I won't, you'll be mine someday. You know I try, 'cause well, I'll be in love someday.
Don't be lonesome. Jack Broadbent here on KRFC's Live at Lunch. All right. You get a unique vibrato out of that as opposed to having to just move the hand or whatever. You can move your whole arm. I notice you don't use any picks. You don't use any finger picks. You're just using the calluses, I guess, on your fingers. And
yeah, one hopes. Yeah, I just use the index and thumb.
Yeah? Has it always been that way, your style, or did you try picks and they just weren't working for you?
I just felt that they were a little impersonal, you know, and I like to sort of blend a more of a, you know, a pick style attack sound with finger picking too. So really, unless you've got some real cool tricks up your sleeves, I know people who can hold a pick and then flick them and hold them between two fingers, do finger picking and get them back. I ain't got time for that kind of shit.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's I think you're also getting a more authentic sound by using the fingers and plucking and rather than the percussiveness that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it means you're just free to sort of tap around the body a little if you want to as well, you know.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. I know you've got a really busy schedule, and you're a traveling musician, and we drag you in early in the morning, and hopefully you feel like your voice had a chance to warm up a little bit here.
It's been great. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, I do want to thank Colton and Jeremy and Andy on the sound today, and Chris and Eric on the audio, the video, doing a fantastic job as always. Thanks, guys. So you're going to lead us out today with a tune, that traditional song that you like, and it's the one that I got introduced to you with when you're busking on the streets in Amsterdam. And is this one of your influences? You just like the tune, and it made you kind of want to play slide to it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I found myself playing that blues groove, and just that's the first song that came to me as something that I wanted to mess around with and have a play, and I thought it was quite fitting with the amount of traveling I was doing, and the busking lifestyle. To sing on the road again is quite apt, you know. So.
Exactly, as much as you travel and are on the road.
Right.
Well, thanks again, Jack Broadbent, for sharing your time with us here on Live at Lunch, and
thanks very much for having me.
Love to have you back anytime you're in town.
Damn right. All right.
I'm so tired of crying, but I'm out on the road again. I'm on the road again. I said I'm so tired of crying, but I'm out on the road again. I'm on the road again. I ain't got nobody just to call my special friend. I ain't got nobody just to call my special friend. travel out in the rain and snow. In the rain and snow. I said the first time I traveled out in the rain and snow. In the rain and snow. I didn't have nobody, I didn't have no place to go. I didn't have nobody, I didn't have no place to go. Mama, please don't you cry no more, don't you cry no more. I said, hey, pretty mama, please don't you cry no more. Then one morning, down the road I'm gone. Then one morning, down the road I'm gone. Down that long old lonely road all by myself. I said I ain't going down that long old lonely road all by myself. I said if you ain't coming I'm gonna carry somebody else. I said if you ain't coming I'm gonna carry somebody else.
Thank you for listening to Live at Lunch, and thank you to the Music District here in the heart of Fort Collins, Colorado. Live at Lunch is produced by KRFC 88.9 FM in the Ginger and Baker studio. If you'd like to appear on Live at Lunch, email our music director, David Vacek, at david@krfcfm.org.